to comply with federal law to accept federal funds.
What would make this fair for her to compete for those who are competing against her? What would that kind of structure in competition look like?
Who is her?
AB.
Okay, AB Hernandez is a male who identifies as a female. What would be fair is to have Hernandez competing in the male category. It is not fair to the females competing to have to compete with a male.
Okay, so in Trump's federal funding threat, is that something, though, that would hurt all student athletes, including athletes who are assigned female at birth?
Would his federal funding threat hurt athletes?
If the money is taken away.
Right. So the law actually says that schools that do not abide Title IX or other federal laws cannot receive federal funds. So that's not Trump's fault. The problem is that the state with AB 1266.
But you understand, Julie, there's two views here on Title IX. So just to be clear, not everyone agrees with you on how you're viewing it. So in that regard, if you were to take away the funding on as it pertains to trans athletes, not everyone agrees with you. I think we just have to be clear about that. If you are taking away the funds for athletes, student athletes in California, isn't that going to hurt all of them?
Taking away federal funds is going to hurt all California kids, which is why the state of California needs to comply with federal law. It's very simple.
So when you dig into the science on trans athletes, what is really clear is that there needs to be a lot more research on a lot more trans athletes to be able to draw better conclusions about the effect of whether gender-affirming care actually reduces or eliminates the advantage conferred on an athlete who is genetically male. Would you welcome more research? Is this a situation where more research might help?
I absolutely think that more research and more careful and thoughtful discussion is necessary here. Pediatric sex change procedures are very harmful and they cause lifelong damage to children. And this is something that the United States of America needs to examine thoughtfully, and people need to be able to discuss openly without being called bigots and transphobes.
Yeah, totally hear you. There are obviously clear benefits to playing sports, to competing in sports. So when you're looking at an athlete like AB Hernandez, what would you have her do so that she can benefit from sporting?
I view AB Hernandez as the victim in this situation. I feel for him, and I feel that he has been lied to for his entire life, and it's probably very destabilizing and difficult for him right now to realize that what he's been told is not actually reality. He cannot become a girl. What he can do is compete in the male category.
Okay, let's stick to sports. So you say compete in the male category, or what?
Or if the state and CIF want to create a separate category for people like AB Hernandez, and that's something that they want to do, fine. It is not fair to female athletes who have worked their entire lives for this kind of competition, who also, by the way, cannot speak out for fear of retaliation, which AB Hernandez's mother has personally threatened against them. So it's very unfair for our girls and women in California to have to compete with males, have to share facilities with males, and then not be able to speak up about the unfairness because people are going to label them as bigots.
Julie Hamill, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Wow. All right, folks. We are back. We're going to get into this and more. This is Christian Conservative, your trusted source for bold, unfiltered news and analysis on the issues that matter most to Christian conservatives. I'm KJ, along with Michelle Talkington. How are you tonight, Michelle?
I am fantastic, KJ. It's June. Can you believe we're halfway through the year?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't believe it. I mean, this year is flying by, halfway through the year, and halfway through the first year of President Trump's presidency, too. So, I mean, it's going so fast. He's moving so fast with his agenda. We're going to get into that as well. Folks, as you come in, we want to welcome you, first of all, to Christian Conservative. And make sure you hit that like button. We really need you to do that. It helps to get this video out to more people, and we certainly want to do that. All right. So from faith and family to politics and culture, we tackle the hard truths and stand firm on biblical principles. All right. We already see the chat is off and running. It's hot on here. We have our first super chat of the night. Kung Fu CJ says, hello, ladies and my fellow God-fearing Christians. Hello. Yes, indeed, Kung Fu CJ. Thank you so much for that. We have a bunch of people in here. We see your chats. The Country Boy Threat, Jerome Davis, my girls H. Thank you all so much for your chats. And again, we shout out all of the super chats. So that is the best way to get your voice in the conversation. And we really appreciate the support. All right, I want to get right into that exchange. So, Michelle, that was California attorney Julie Hamill. I loved her facial expressions too. She was like me. I can't stop my face from moving. And you could see she repeatedly corrected CNN anchor Brianna Keilar over transgender sports policies and gender. Mm-hmm. What did you think of that exchange?
First off, she brought the hammer. I said officially that is not Hamill to me anymore. She was fantastic. And that's actually what we need to continue to do. Conservatives, people, common sense, because you don't have to be a conservative to have common sense and know that it is unfair for men to be competing against women, boys against girls in sports that you receive scholarships and championships. So I loved that she continued to correct the anchor. And I know I joked with KJ, I said, I want to read the woman's contract, because she kept pushing back and calling AB a woman, and can we just stay on topic? And no, we can't, because the topic is that AB is a male,
right?
He is a he. And I loved that the attorney was not having it. She continued to push back, and it wasn't just subtle, but she made sure she said he. And it's okay. I think we got to be past that delusion. And
exactly.
You want us to just call us whatever name you have now and you're comfortable, but you're not a biological woman. You're not a biological female. It is what it is. So it's sad that we're still fighting this, but good on her. What a way to take a stand. She was clear. And you're right, KJ. Her faces were like yours. They were like mine.
It was shocking. It was shocking the way that the reporter was approaching the conversation. And I just want to break this down. So initially, she starts off by calling Trump's the way that he is saying, if you don't abide by Title IX, we're going to remove your federal funding. She calls it Trump's federal funding threat. I mean, how biased is that? And again, this is the removal of federal funding for schools that don't abide by Title IX, but she calls it Trump's federal funding threat. That was so unprofessional, number one. Then she goes into this thing about how not everyone agrees with you on the view of Title IX. Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, 79% of Americans, including 67% of Democrats, agree with the attorney, Ms. Hamill, and the Trump administration, according to a New York Times poll that was out in January. So, I don't know what she's talking about. Not everyone agrees with your view. And would she actually say that to someone on the opposite side? Would she say someone who came on and they do, many of them, the left comes on there and says that women or boys can transition to girls. They don't question them. They don't question them one bit. But here she is questioning this woman and saying, can we please stick to the science? It's ridiculous.
They don't really want to stick to the science because we have proven over and over again what women are, what men are. We've got XX, we've got XY chromosomes. That's it. But yeah, the fact that she was so stone-faced about it to say, can we just keep on topic? As if she's chastising her. And even actually the majority of Californians agree. Mm-hmm. And of course, there are some people that disagree with the interpretation of Title IX. Those would be the ones that are crushing girls and women in their sports and stealing their titles. This is outright theft. Not only that, they should not have to share these locker rooms. They shouldn't have to share the bathrooms. It has to end. And I think that we're getting to that point, but not fast enough for my liking.
Same here. I totally agree with you, Michelle. You guys sound off in the chat. I mean, did you all feel that this reporter was biased like we did? I mean, to me, it was very clear. And let me correct myself. She said, can we just stick to the sports is what she said. But she would never say that to a leftist who was arguing the opposite point. So, and what it is you mentioned, they don't believe a man can become a girl. And so this is the crux of the argument. They believe, as far as the CNN reporter and the left, they believe that boys can transgender or transition, I should say. And if you are against that, then they don't want to hear it. And that takes us to this next story. Same thing here, similar. This is comedian and co-host of The Breakfast Club, Jess Hilarious. So she came out. She's been pretty clear that she believes only women can have babies. In this actual interview, a leftist guest tried to fact check her in real time. Take a look here. This is clip 9. All right.
But you do have to have some things ingrained in the way that you move about your day, period, to understand that the work never stops. So we just got to find that balance.
And for you, I want somebody who knows that women can have babies.
Oh, okay.
Only women can have babies. I just want to let you know that.
Interesting. There are other people who can have babies.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if they have a uterus, they can have babies. But they just might not identify as women.
Okay.
Those are two different things. Like, you can be biologically female, but you can't be biologically woman. Because woman is a gender construct. A social construct. But if you got a uterus, yeah, you can have a baby.
Yes, that's the point. If you have a uterus, you can have a baby.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we agree on that.
Lene,
I mean, are we in cuckoo world? I mean, this is so bizarre that this is something that we are even arguing about, debating.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that exchange, Michelle?
What? This is college. This is college education at its finest, everybody. This is where we created these gender studies courses, and you can get a degree. And they created new definitions for what a woman is. So there was no such thing. Woman is not a gender construct. There was no such thing as a gender construct about, 20 minutes ago, until they decided to have these intellectuals, dive in and decide what really is a man, a woman, and then the last 4 years, we get 60 different definitions and cis and all kinds of things. It's nonsense. A woman is a woman. And I loved that she checked her so easily. I just want somebody who understands only a woman can have a child. The fact that we're going down to the basics of a uterus, and people, they argue that with us, KJ.
No.
They actually even fight us on that, because then they go down to, surgeries are going to come up, and it should be black and white, and not having to do with race, because we know we talk about that on the show, but it is plain and simple. It is male, it is female, and you are a woman, and you're born that way.
Right. Yeah. And folks, I don't understand how anyone can continue to vote for this party that believes this. I don't understand how this is not a major issue. So if you are a Democrat, and particularly if you are a Christian, and you are voting for the Democrat Party, you are voting for people that clearly believe that men can have babies, then you're either one, you agree with that, or two, you feel as though that is not a major issue for you. And you're looking beyond that and you're saying, I'm still going to vote for this party, even though they're talking this nonsense. And I just don't understand how you can what do you call it? How you can even understand that, how you can even rationalize that. It's ridiculous. Now, when you, like you said, Michelle, when you're talking about this gender thing, again, it's Marxist the way that they are portraying this. But the term was first used in the manner to define a role connected to sex by sexologist John Money in 1955. Folks who agree with this, Christians who say, oh, I'm looking past this because it's not a major issue for me. You all are subscribing to a demonic thinking. The guy who came up with this, John Money, is called the father of gender theory. And he basically, what do you call it? He made sex experiments. He experimented on children. And so he was famous for his experiments on minor patients, and he is responsible for the disastrous sex change surgery performed on a boy. So he experimented on children, on a boy who suffered a botched circumcision. Money had promised the parents of the boy that gender was entirely a social construct or creation, and that their son would be fine if he cut off his testicles, gave him estrogen, and they raised him as a girl. The boy wasn't fine. He committed suicide at 38 years old after reverting to a life as a male. And so I urge you all to look into these experiments, these pseudoscientific experiments that this man did on these poor twins, children. But he is the one where we get this idea that gender is a construct. And he was himself, he was an atheist, I believe, or he may have been, he may actually have been a devil worshiper. I'm not sure on that. I know he was not Christian. I know he was anti-Christian. But again, this is what we're talking about. This is what they're teaching in schools now. It's ridiculous.
It's frustrating. And you can hear, we watch these clips and we find them, just daily or hourly, the way that they're coming out. And it is baffling. And it's hard to describe. It's hard to even talk about. And KJ, to your point with this, and I know in jest, I said it was, a couple weeks ago, a minute ago, because really in the grand scheme of time, the 1900s, the 1950s, that's nothing compared to God's creation, compared to in the beginning, compared to in Adam and Eve. We go back and we see all of this. We've got precedent. We've got thousands of years of basic humanity, which is men and women existing and having very specific defined roles. And then the 1900s, 1950s comes along and blows it all up. But I want to quick go back to that anchor. She asked the question, which goes exactly to what KJ just said. Do you think we need more studies, gender studies on trans athletes? What she said to me in my ears was, do you think we should experiment on more children, create more transgender athletes, allow them to compete and continue to rob titles just so we could study them? So she's asking, should we have a bigger experiment and open this up even further? The answer is no. That is evil. That is demonic. And that is sneaky. So when we think we're just supporting studies, that's not just a study. What she said is, do you think we should encourage this?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is what they want to do. This is, of course, as we've mentioned before, this idea of gender theory is Karl Marx. It's Marxist. It leads to the destruction of traditional structures, family, religion, and biological roles to pave the way for a so-called revolution. And today's gender ideology seeks to dismantle the family and erase distinctions between men and women, just like Marx did, just like John Money was trying to do. It's all demonic and destructive. and particularly to that guest on the Breakfast Club. By saying gender is a social construct, activists claim that your reality is whatever you feel, not what you are. And this mindset removes accountability, because if identity is fluid, so is responsibility. And it fosters chaos, not clarity, and that is intentional. And it's what we're seeing many of these children being taught in schools. There's no accountability for anything. They want to blame racism. They want to blame the patriarchy. They want to blame men. They want to blame heterosexual men. It's all a victim, all a removal of accountability. And this goes to the crux of that, this whole gender ideology. It's I mean, honestly, I have to say it's BS. It's BS.
Yeah. And just like going back to the attorney Hamill, who does it affect? The victims, like A.B. Garcia, he's a victim. Yeah, because his whole life, we're talking about, let's look at COVID, what it did to kids. So we know it caused all kinds of social anxiety, and children were seeking to be accepted or coming out and having to figure out how to make friendships because schools have been shut down in so many states. The entire world was practically shut down. So now it was a restart. And what did we do? We threw it in the most demonic, evil direction we could have. And so, yeah, for their whole life, they've lived in this era of gender fluidity. Gender ideology. It started out simple. We thought some people were by this and they liked that, and now we go into just it's feelings, it's how you feel, and now we're in a anything goes scenario. And children are the targets and children are the victims.
You're right. And Marxism depends on re-educating the youth to turn them against traditional authority. Promoting this gender fluidity in schools confuses children. It separates them from parental values and primes them for state dependency. I love that Moms for Liberty, they sent out an email today saying that June is actually Parental Rights Month. So June 1st marks the anniversary of the Supreme Court decision over parental rights. And I love it. I love that because, you know, parental rights are under siege right now. I have it here. It says June 1st, 2025 marks the 100th anniversary of the landmark Supreme Court case Pierce v. Society of Sisters, a powerful affirmation of parental rights in education. The court's decision upheld the fundamental right of parents, not the state, to direct the upbringing and education of their children. I love that.
I love it. It's important to me as a homeschooling parent. That was critical for us. And we still use, and it still took years for us to decide the upbringing, the care, and the education of our children. But yeah, I love Moms for Liberty and what they did. And again, these organizations started as grassroots, just like even KJ, all of your podcasts, they just start out because you're like, hey, is anybody listening? And these groups that, of course, are targeted as radical and far right, and they're terrorist organizations, just like all moms, apparently, who care about their children. We're monsters. No, they start off because we see the nonsense. We call it as it is, and we push back. And thank goodness that we push back. Christian conservative, we push back. Christians, we're waiting for all of Christians, God-fearing, God-loving Christians to push back on this nonsense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, you guys know we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, the event that we did on Pop and Politics this weekend, the Informed Voter Power series. Folks, when I tell you, it was a success. We had a great group of teens and young adults come out. And oh my gosh, they had so many questions. There's so many teenagers dealing with pressure of, you know, premarital sex, of this idea that we are oppressed, and you know, the education is telling them that, you know, we're the oppressed and we're victims of so many things as far as being, you know, Black Americans. And it was so, they had so many questions, they had so many comments, and everything was very thoughtful. And you could tell that they're really trying to understand, to think critically. Yeah. It's so upsetting that these schools are trying to push our kids on a path of destruction. They are indoctrinating these innocent teenagers. They're innocent. And this is why we must continue to put out this type of information. Everyone, for some reason, can't homeschool, or they don't believe that, they're working or whatever. But we have to, every way we can, to connect with these young people and try our best to get the truth out to them. Because right now, the school system culture is the loudest voice in their head. And we need to be right there. That's why we see like how the left tries to censor us, and they try to, like, you have reporters out like that CNN reporter who are very biased. They don't want us to get out the truth on the news, because they know that if these teenagers hear the truth, they will be drawn to it. Yeah. And I saw that this weekend. Now the wheels are turning, and they're starting to say, wow, what I've been told may not be correct. So this is why they want to censor us so much. And thank God for people like you, Michelle, who do homeschool. It was a homeschooling family there, and you can tell the clear difference between homeschool children and these and children that are in public school. Yeah, I never knew that. I never knew that until this last year or so, the difference.
I think we encourage discussion, dialogue, rhetoric, because you can have, it doesn't even have to just be a homeschooling, community. It could be a classical private school or a Montessori or something that encourages critical thinking and rhetoric. Yeah. Thinking for yourself. I like that. What is it? We watch YouTube. I saw that we need to change the way we have this convo, made that comment. And I agree. We don't always have to convince people of common sense, but like the reporter Miss Hamill did, she just pushed back and ignored it. She didn't buy in. If you don't have to convince crazy that they're not crazy, but you don't have to buy in. You don't have to, go into these schools and see people that are pretending to be cats and dogs and bark and meow at them. They're human beings. You just talk to them. She didn't back down. She just called AB a boy, a man, a he. We can do it that way. And KJ, you're right. When teenagers get access to the truth and have the opportunity to think critically, then they start asking the right questions. And right now in high schools and regular schools or public schools, and even in elementary schools, they don't want you to think. They want you to repeat what they said. And then if you push back, they're going to tell you why you're wrong and why you didn't get the assignment and why you don't understand the conversation. We just have to change that now. And I'm so glad it was successful.
Yeah, yes, yeah. And as you mentioned, we can understand they are pushing this nonsense on babies. I mean, kindergartners. They're pushing this. So if they're starting that young, and not only are they pushing this, they're indoctrinating, they're grooming these children, but then these children can't read. I mean, they're graduating high school. They can't read. They can't comprehend. I was just watching a documentary on that, how so many children are coming out of high school and they can't read. So what do you think is going to happen to these kids if they can't read, and then they're being indoctrinated the time they're in school? Instead of being taught to read and write, they're being indoctrinated into this nonsense. You get cogs. You get people who are pretty much, what do you call it in socialist society? Cogs for the system. Absolutely. And it's so sad.
They buy into communism. They buy into Marxism, and it's hook, line, and sinker. They don't know anything else. They have programmed their own minds into thinking and believing what they see, and what they see on television, on YouTube, on all the different forms. This is not just in school. This is in media. This is in everything they see. So if they can't read, and study it for themselves, they're going to look it up. They're going to just say, hey, Google, hey, Alexa. And then they're going to be, again, force-fed information that's a lie.
Right. Yeah. We have Wendy with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Wendy says, I'm trying to bring youth to the truth. Yes. Let's teach them at home. God made us right. Absolutely, Wendy. Yes, indeed. Agree with you there. Well, that takes us to this next story about this male student who stole the Washington State title from a female in the girls 400 meter at the 2A Washington State Championship this weekend. It actually happened on Saturday. We talked about this a little bit last week. Well, the tournament or the meet actually occurred on Saturday, and take a look at what happened when he won. Here we are with clip 3.
Second place, Lauren Matthews. And first place, your 2025 winner, in a time of 55.70 from East Valley of Spokane, Veronica Garcia. Your girls 400 meter.
Veronica Garcia, East Valley of Spokane. Lauren Matthew, West Valley of Spokane. And Veronica Garcia is your state champ in that 2A 400.
All right, they booed him. They booed him. Want to get you in on this, Michelle. Before we do, want to acknowledge our super chatters here. Kung Fu CJ with the $5 super chat says they have turned away from God. The U.S. is Mystery Babylon. Yep. Yeah, we totally agree with you there, Kung Fu CJ. Thank you so much. Yeah. So as you saw there, Michelle, they booed him. So this was boys from 2 different states sparked a national uproar after destroying their female competition to win track titles. Fox News reported a biological boy named A.B. Hernandez stole first place in girls high jump and triple jump at the state championship on Saturday at Veterans Memorial Stadium in Clovis, California. This result was unsurprising after he stormed ahead of his competitors in both categories during the preliminaries. Hernandez also, this is what we just saw, finished second in the long jump to Woodrow Wilson High School's Lauren Webster. Webster was the only girl to beat Hernandez in any competition this weekend. There you have it, Michelle. What is your thoughts? Your thoughts there?
I said this our last podcast, and I'll continue to say it. If we don't, the moms, the dads, stand up, say no, turn our backs on the competition, pull your girls from competing. I know it's hard. It's a tough spot to want them. They've worked so hard to still be there. But I mean, in mass, stage a full-on walkout on this. When you have a male competing, look how far ahead he was. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely outrageous. I'm so glad they at least booed, at the very least. But This should be not just booing. This should be bombarding the school that allowed this to happen with so many letters that they closed the mailbox, so many phone calls they can't answer. That's what needs to happen. It's not enough. It's a start, but it's not enough. Boo all day long. No, this should never happen. I'm happy they stood up, but make it loud and keep it up. That's what's going to happen, because look how fast we thought this was over a couple of years ago. We thought this was over when we exposed in Virginia the young girl who was attacked in the girls' restroom. We saw the dad at the parent-teacher conference arrested or escorted out for this. We thought we ended it, and then I believe this title is going to be overturned. I believe the girls are going to get ranked the way that they should, but it shouldn't even be this far anymore. This weekend, KJ, I mean, 2 days ago, yesterday.
Right. And here he is talking about the booing, responding to it at least. Garcia says, I'll be honest, I kind of expect it. It made me angry, but not angry as in I wanted to give up, but angry as in I'm going to push. So that was the male runner Garcia responding to the boos. Now here in this next video, we have one of the attendees, the contestants, is talking about sharing the podium with the male runner AB Hernandez. Take a look at this. This is a girl here. She identifies as queer. This is clip 4.
They gave me the medal I deserved. They gave her the medal that she deserved, and sharing the podium was nothing but an honor. As a part of the queer community, I want AB Hernandez to know that we all have her back and we all have her support. Although the publicity she's receiving has been pretty negative, I believe she deserves publicity because she is a superstar. She's a rock star. She's representing who she is. And to be up there with her, that was amazing for me, honestly. Yeah, I'm really proud of us both.
So California changed the rules on Tuesday after President Trump threatened to withhold funding from the Golden State. So the organization ordered that any biological females who lost to a male would not lose their place. So that's what that queer lady girl we're talking about. This meant no female winner would be displaced by Hernandez's wins. The new rule also allowed an extra girl to compete in each category in which Hernandez was set to perform. This is pathetic. And then you got this thing on here. I'm in the queer community. What are your thoughts on this, Michelle?
Yeah, she's in the queer community. That's fine. This is attention getting, the same as her nose rings, the same as everything else. They're calling out for some type of attention, and clearly they're getting that attention. And I love the comments.
The nose rings cut off oxygen. I know. Well, that's the starter kit. They gotta have minotaur ring. They gotta have they have to have some type of hole piercings in their face. They also have to have some type of, the next thing is the hair. So the dye, they gotta have some type of dye on the hair or whatever. And the list goes on. It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
For her to say we in the queer community or we in the community, that's such a small percentage of humanity. It's such a small percentage. I'm thinking we who? Because 99% of those competing in that event were not happy about it. You could hear from the boos. You can hear the comments. No, they're not happy about it. We're not happy about it. It's not an honor. It's a disgrace. He's not a superstar. He's a mediocre male athlete who couldn't cut it with the boys and decided to steal it from the girls. Call it what it is and quit the nonsense. And I hope somebody talks to her. It's fine to want to be friends and support each other because you're good buddies. This is competitive sports. This is not where you're just hanging out with your friends playing volleyball or doing a little run for exercise. So just stop.
Oh, yeah. And like you mentioned, call it like it is. These people have a mental health issue. That is what it is. They are mentally unstable. We've seen this all over the country with these, what they are calling in the post-millennial calls Transtifa. These people go all over the country. They are nuts. They're violent. And here we have another one. So at that same race in California, a Transtifa member was arrested after assaulting a man with a transgender flag. So the trans person hit somebody with a flag. Take a look at this nonsense. This is clip 5.
Embarrassed to mention it.
You fucking bitch.
Is your wife still over there? Yeah.
Bye-bye. Have a fun trip.
All right. And so that was some transgender person. And he was crying because he's being arrested. This is what we're talking about. What are your thoughts there, Michelle?
Well, I'm just looking at that person, and you can see as they're like flipping their hair, it looked to me like they were having a mental breakdown. It looked internally that they were struggling. And Kung Fu CJ, and so it's part of a super chat comment.
Thank you so much, Kung Fu CJ. Says, ladies, that is where witchcraft starts. Colored hair and piercings. Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
I was looking at him and thinking, okay, this looks like somebody is maybe having some kind of schizophrenic or demonic attack, and they're talking to him. You just watch people's eyes. It's one thing to have facial expressions, and you could tell when we're rolling our eyes. You could tell we're like, oh, this is nonsense. But just look into their faces. You're right. There's a lot of deeply disturbing things happening with these young people, and I guarantee that person is not a Christian, does not have Christ, needs to be prayed for. I'm glad that justice is being served, because 7 months ago it would not have been. He wouldn't have been arrested, or she. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know what the thing was,
but I know that they wouldn't have been arrested. They've been allowed to walk away. So kudos on the 6 months under President Trump, who said we're going to follow the law here. And that's what I love about all of these races. Again, California, Gavin Newsom, boy, did he turn so fast and say, it's not fair for men to compete against women. Yeah, because the law is back. Law and order, decency and order, not this chaos that was allowed to happen for 4 years.
Right. You're right. And speaking of this chaos, so news broke recently, a Missouri couple that was caught in 2023 have pled guilty to federal charges. Rachel and William Burns ended up being two of the most horrific pedos caught by an online vigilante group called Predator Poachers. Take a look at this. This is this next clip. This is clip 2.
What's up, guys? We have 2 major convictions for one case that we're going to be going over. This is one of our most known busts. This is back in 2023. A lot of y'all probably remember Rachel and William Burns of Franklin County, Missouri, who traveled all the way to University City to pick up an 11-year-old girl for sex. As y'all, those who have been following know, this goes way deeper than just a couple picking up a girl for sex. I mean, Rachel drove an hour from her home to University City to go pick up the 11-year-old and brought her 2 toddler kids in the car with her, presumably to run cover for why she's with some kid. And I mean, that was a heartbreaking thing to see. I mean, the kids were suffering in the back. It was a very hot day. I mean, I even had to tell her to go give the kids some freaking water while I was talking to her. But anyway, Rachel ends up admitting to wanting to have sexual relations with this 11-year-old girl. And then William, kind of the mastermind of all this, her husband, is on the phone with Rachel, basically saying, don't say anything, don't say anything. And we convince Rachel to put the phone down and come talk to us. And then William panics. He drives the hour to University City. I mean, it went down exactly how he wanted it to go. And the cops end up coming. They end up arresting both William and Rachel for attempted child enticement. And what they ended up finding on the devices is freaking insane. Like I said, it goes a lot deeper than just going to meet a kid for sex one time. They ended up finding thousands of child pornography videos and images, even some they unfortunately produced themselves with a kid as young as 1 year old in a hotel room. So the case ended up going federal, and today, well, I guess the past week, they both ended up pleading guilty to a minimum of 20 years. For William, a max of 45 years, and for Rachel, a max of 40 years. So
my Lord. 1 year old, 11 years old. Father God, please, Lord, protect these children. Protect the kids. This is sick, and it's demonic. It is demonic. Michelle, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, listening to that clip and just seeing it, I was thinking of my own daughter, who's 10, going to be 11.
Wow.
I've always had an issue with this, and it goes back to what we expose children to from the beginning. There are always going to be evil people. Evil walks this earth, and it's going to walk this earth until Christ comes back. But what are we doing about it? During the last administration, we opened the floodgates and let pure predators in, sex trafficking in, trafficking of minors is at an all-time high, and it's in the U.S.
And many of them are still missing. You know they're being trafficked.
And we are the consumer. The U.S. is the biggest consumer, and you just found producers right there who are attacking, destroying, and going after the most, you want to talk about most vulnerable, our children. And it's sad. And what makes me upset is that it's not just them. When we start introducing all this nonsense in schools and elementary schools, it's so that these things can happen, so that we expose kids to being okay with being a girl or a boy and talking about sexuality when they're in preschool because the school boards allowed it to happen. And what does that do? It allows kids that, and what's sad is there are real children that are susceptible. This was a sting operation. This was fake. And thank the Lord it was. But there are real 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds with their apps and their Facebook friends and getting on there and not knowing that people are out there to harm them, because we know the devil is out there to steal, to kill, to destroy. And that's what those sick monsters were out there doing, and even involving their own children. I mean, my gosh, KJ, just monsters.
Yeah, monsters, demonic. This is demonic, and I hope people understand, because we started off tonight's show talking about how the left is pushing this gender constructs and how it's Marxist and how this all plays on the breakdown of the family. Well, bring it down to this now. So when you do that, when you teach that, you're teaching traditional families are wrong. You're pushing single parent household. You're pushing that men are bad, and or heterosexual men are bad and they need to be removed from the homes. Then you create these situations where you have children who are most vulnerable when there are no dads in the homes. Mm-hmm. And so this is then it's almost like they're doing, well, they probably are. They're doing this on purpose, because then it creates a breeding ground for vulnerable kids who are then trafficked, who are then manipulated and groomed and indoctrinated and assaulted, sexually assaulted. It's all part of it. This is the design that they are creating. The left is pushing this. I don't understand how anyone cannot see it, that this is what it is. It is. It's obvious what it is. It's sick. It's sick.
Yeah.
And we saw it, and this is why they have not released the Epstein list, because I believe that there are people in high positions and high places that are all doing this, that are taking part in this sick pedo stuff, and it would cause too much damage if it's released.
No, agreed, 100%. From kings, queens, princes, congressmen, women, presidents, you name it, they're all on this list. Oh, and yeah. I just, again, I go back to, they start this early. They're starting this early. There was I think he was a serial killer and an abuser and pedo, and I'll get his name at a later time. But the long story short is, he was asked, how do you choose your victims? And he said, I chose them by looking at the fathers. If they didn't have one, or if the fathers were weak, that was a target. That child could be a target. But if the dad seemed strong, he ignored those. And we've broken down the family unit. The enemy has broken down the family unit for a reason. And what's crazy to me is the left is busy screaming about a fake boogeyman while we're sending illegal immigrants back home, saying, oh, they're just snatching people off the streets and they're sending them into prisons in other nations. But they're not talking about that we're snatching children out of their homes and out of their schools and off of the streets to traffic them. They're not going after real victims because they don't care. They never care. They care about a story. And not only that, that's a cover up. They want you deliberately to ignore what's happening to our children, to ignore what's happening to women in these trafficking situations. They don't want you to talk about it. Otherwise, we should see this on the news every single day. KJ, we're seeing this on clips because we are watching the internet. Where is this on national news? Where's
they're part of it.
Attention for this.
Right. They're part of it. They're so busy focusing on Trump and things like that. it's all part of it. This is what the Marxist communist society is turning into. They've gotten control over legacy media, over the schools, over the newspapers, all of it, the publishing, the books. And this is why it's so important to support channels like ours. Folks, as you guys come in, please hit that like button. We need that. It helps us to get this video out in front of as many people as possible, because we're fighting against a system, a machine that is tall, that is wide, it's far reaching. And so thank God for people like you all, for patriots, for Christians who support us. We have another super chatter here. Wendy with a $5 super chat says, come on, reality is back, ladies, and family. Kids are never looking for pain. Adults are the beasts targeting our kids. I know the children are innocent. I agree with the first, attorney in that first CNN clip we showed. She was right. My heart goes out to these kids, the teenagers who have been sold a line of goods and are being manipulated for their innocence. They're being controlled. They're being, lied to. And this is what my heart goes out to them. They are the innocents. And all we can do is continue to pray and continue to get the truth out there. That's all we can do.
Yeah,
we must do.
I love our super chatters, and they're taught all the conversation about, from a Christian perspective, breaking these generational curses, because a lot of this is not just in media, which we see now, and we see the beasts, just demons snatching up children, but a lot of this is happening in homes that we never talk about, that we never expose, that children are experiencing things that they don't talk about. That those are the kids, unfortunately, that will reach out to somebody else or have these conversations with adults. It's just a vicious cycle. And it's been so hush hush. And right now on the national scale, it's so evil and so widespread. And we're just not doing enough. It's almost like we're doing nothing, but we've seen it. There's no place safe, no place, not even the church, because we have scandals in the church. It's not even just men. This was a woman. This was a mother. This was a woman targeting this poor girl who, again, thank goodness, was a sting operation.
Well, we will continue to follow that story. So the same people that broke that story in 2023 just broke another story. So apparently this Colin McGuire came to meet who he believed to be an 11-year-old and her mother. Not even 10 minutes into the meeting, well, I'm going to show you guys this and you guys can see this is actually really, really crazy. Let me see here. I have that. Do I have that clip? All right, here we go. I think this is clip 2.
What's up, guys? We have 2 major convictions for one case that we're going to be going.
Oops, not that one. This is clip 1. Sorry. Here we are.
Okay. This is Colin McGuire. He's from Bloomington, Illinois, currently under investigation for child pornography right now. Hit with a shit diaper. Officers are going to have to get some overtime.
Take your diaper off. Put a fresh one on. Take it off. Put a fresh one on. I'm not putting it in my car.
Oh shit! Officers, please give these officers a raise. West Frankfort, please. Holy shit! Literally.
I cannot fit into this. It's physically too small.
Where's your pants? Are those your pants? Put your pants on.
You got something to put on.
Put your pants on.
He came here to meet an 11-year-old girl for straight.
Put your pants on.
I'm having a fucking emotional breakdown,
please. You know what? You're going to get cuffed and you're going to walk out without pants if you don't put your pants on right now.
I never wanted to be this bad!
Okay. Put your pants on now.
Look at this.
Grab those pants and put them on right now.
Oh my god. Yeah, what's in the diaper?
Put them on.
Yeah, I'm going
Leave the diaper alone. Put your pants on.
I just wanted to wipe my fucking ass. I didn't want to.
Put your pants on.
I didn't want.
I don't care what you want. Put your pants on. Put them on.
my God.
Yeah. So that was another trans nut. Colin McGuire is his name, Frankfort, Illinois. He was there to meet a mother and her 11-year-old daughter while wearing a diaper. So the gentleman you all saw in the beard, the redheaded beard, he was part of this sting operation. They caught this guy. He was charged with solicitation to meet a child, indecent solicitation of a child. He was arrested. So again, this is what we're talking about. And that guy who came there, he's actually a known leftist activist. He's been leading a lot of these different marches all over the country. I shouldn't say marches, riots in Seattle and other places. He's been in the news quite a bit. But this is what we're contending with. Michelle, what are your thoughts there?
Oh, it's hard to watch it. You don't know whether to take it seriously. Like the gentleman that was there, and this guy, he's laughing, but he knows how serious it is, which is why he does what he does. But how disgusting! He's wearing a diaper, he's defecated himself, and urinating, and you can see how you could actually see the smell. Like people are freaking out, like, oh my God, just put your pants on. And then once again, just like that video with the guy that, broke the window with the flagpole, you can see in their eyes and hear how they're having another breakdown. Just the crying, the hysterics, the I'm okay, I hate this. It's just up and down. They are legion. We are seeing legion. They are many. We are seeing demonic entities manifest themselves, walk around, go after children, attack people on the streets. And it's just shocking. And I don't even know where to start, how to cast this out, how to pray, how to fight back. But it just reminds me of biblical times where that was normal. They would see the demonic. The disciples knew what it was. They would call it out, cast it out, and keep moving on. This is what we're seeing. We are living in those times.
Yeah. And folks, I saw some people in the chat was wondering what it was. So that was the same group. The gentleman who we saw laughing, he was a part of the same. He's part of the same group that caught the pedos in 2023, Rachel and William Burns. And so he recently just caught this guy. It was a sting operation. He's some vigilante group called Predator Poachers. I had his name. Let me see if I can find that again. It was on Twitter. Alex Rosen. Alex Rosen is his name. And so he is part of this Predator Poachers. And what they do is sort of almost like what's the guy who
like goes catfish? They're going around, or like
what's the guy that remember the guy Kevin something where he goes around Project Veritas?
Oh,
it's
yeah,
sort of like
that. Still does that.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. But these guys particularly or stick to pedos. And so they caught this man. He arrives in this diaper. This was part of his kink. This is what I'm talking about. Megyn Kelly talks about this all the time. Mm-hmm. Most of these trans activists, these transgenders it's just a kink. They are, it's a mental illness. It's part of a kink that they want to outlive, to live out. And it's all part of it. And that's why we cannot legitimize this crap. It's ridiculous. It really is. So, and we're going to call it out. We're going to call it out. But you guys, if you want to find out more information about that, you can check out Alex Rosen on Twitter. Please tell him we sent you. He has a huge following on there, over almost 500,000 followers on X, I should say X. And he has this organization called Predator Poachers. So there you go. We have another super chat. Kung Fu CJ says demons have no body, and so they have to possess something that is living. That's why you look at their eyes. Yeah. And again, we all have to continue to pray for one another, because we are, as we say on here many times, we are dealing with spiritual warfare. We're dealing with, evil seen and unseen. And we have to pray for God's protection, that he gives us the spirit of discernment to see these things before we, God forbid we get involved with it, and that he protects us from it, that he gives us eyes and ears to understand and to call this stuff out, and that that he protects the innocent, like our children. That's what we have to do. So yeah. All right, folks. So again, as you all come in, please hit that like button. We want to get this out to as many people as possible. You can share this clip, this video, send it in a DM, send it in a text message, or post it on your social media. We want as many people as possible to see it. All right. So we're going to change gears a little bit and talk about the recent Harvard commencement. So Harvard was recently slammed by conservative media for choosing a Chinese student named Yang Luana Jing. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, to speak at its spring commencement on this past Thursday, as the Trump administration aggressively revokes Chinese student visas. Yang Luana Jing, a representative of a CCP-funded and monitored NGO, gave the commencement speech at Harvard, parroting Xi Jinping's diplomatic rhetoric about a shared future for mankind. Take a look at this. Now, I want you guys to really watch and listen to this clip, and I want to get your thoughts on this, Michelle, because when I initially saw this, she does come across as very agreeable, very sweet. What she's saying, when you first hear it, you would think, well, what's wrong with what she said? And I want you guys to react and let us know what you think. This is clip 6. All right.
Anywhere in the world who cannot afford a period pad, it makes me poor. If a girl who skips school out of fear of harassment that threatens my dignity, if a little boy dies in a war that he didn't start and never understood, part of me dies with him. But today, that promise of a connected world is giving way to division, fear, and conflict. We're starting to believe those who think differently, vote differently, or pray differently, whether they are across the ocean or sitting right next to us, are not just wrong. We mistakenly see them as evil. But it doesn't have to be this way.
All right. So now, from the face value, when most people listen to her, they would probably like it. They would agree. They would say, "Oh my gosh, this is what's wrong with this? This is beautiful. We care about everyone in the world. This is a Christian message." What are your thoughts on this, Michelle?
I'm with the chat. That's why they chose her. Well spoken, eloquent. I appreciate where it was coming from, and she's good at playing at the emotions of the crowd, and the audience knew when to applaud, right? She understood dramatic pauses and allow the pauses, but I didn't agree with what she was saying. And that's just, there's a difference between listening and having discernment. And KJ, you talked about we pray that we have eyes to see, ears to hear. We need discernment. And the discernment part of me said, well, this is the Antichrist. This is an Antichrist spirit talking in front of an entire group or congregation or college that embraces it. They embrace that notion of, they embrace communism, for one. And while I appreciate what she's saying, to talk about the little girl and the little boy, but from where she's at, she's never had to suffer any of this. Let's be real, guys. If you're coming to Harvard and you are a foreign exchange student, you pay full price. This is not cheap. These are not all scholarships coming over. And she's from a place of power herself, along with probably a lot of them. And they're so elite. They don't care what they were saying. They didn't care about the Jewish students. She's not applying that to those on campuses being attacked for any other reason. So this is nice words, well played, but discernment is what's going to take us to the next level. Discernment is what's going to help us when we are praying, because this entire, let's just be all one humanity, one people. Yes, we are, but we believe that as Christians, we need to share Christ with all people. God created all people, and I want to bring them to the knowledge of Jesus Christ. But everything else she said, that is the beginning to the end. We will not get to that point. And as Christians, we need to understand that.
Absolutely, Michelle. And folks, this is why I love Christian Conservative, because we give it to you not from the Republican view, not from the politically correct view, the libertarian view. We are talking to you from the Christian view. Yeah. And man's future is in Christ, not communism. And that is exactly what she was talking about. The Bible teaches that true hope and unity for mankind come only through Jesus Christ, not through a godless authoritarian regime. And she was certainly spouting off Xi Jinping's vision for the world. And again, that whole idea of the shared future is Xi's shared future is that's what she was spouting off. It's his stuff. It's about global submission to Chinese Communist Party ideology. Xi's vision erases the individual soul. It erases our soul's relationship with God and replaces it with allegiance to the state. And we as Bible believers know that is not the way. It's not the way. I want to acknowledge our super chatter here, Jeff Horton. Wow, Jeff, thank you so much with the $50 super chat. Says, I am confined to my place, so I find it very important to support influencers and leaders who are concerned with the spiritual and psychological health of our youth and society. Oh, wow. Says, I give this channel everything I can. Bless you for your efforts. Thank you so much, Jeff. Wow, we really appreciate you, and God bless you. Thank you so much. We will do our best with this, with what you give. We do it for the kids. We do it for Bible believers and to spread the word, right, Michelle?
Yes, and you're right, KJ. It's not right or left. It's right. It's right as in correct. It's right as in the word of God. It's right as in the truth. And that's what we have to go back to. The truth is in the word. It's not in our feelings. Our feelings will lie to us. Our wicked tongues, our wicked hearts, they will lie all day long. But we're calling out the truth. And this, again, that spiritual element is so important.
Yes, it is.
Manifesto that she was sprouting right there. I don't understand why people believe that if we all work together for the greater good, that there won't be any leaders to take advantage of that. There's always going to be somebody on top of that. And usually, like as in the case of communist China right now, they don't care about the poor. They literally starve them to death.
Right.
many children they can have or cannot have. People become obsolete. We don't need them. We determine who stays, who goes. We're talking about nations that have cameras that follow everything you do, but not just here in the United States. I'm talking about follow you and penalize you for doing what they deem wrong. It's never going to be okay. Her speech, oh, guys. And what's sad is that 60% of our colleges right now would love to have her say the exact same words.
Oh, yeah.
Why I say I'm not sending my kids to those schools. They can pay for themselves if they want to go, but I'm going to be very careful where I encourage my children to learn.
You're right. You're right, Michelle. And like you said, this is what China, they don't care about these people. No. They crack down on speech. They crack down on religion and dissent, right, in China, while she preaches this global harmony. It's textbook Marxist imperialism. It replacing Western values of liberty and faith with state-controlled ideology under the guise of peace. And this is why it's important that we call this stuff out, folks. We got to tell our young people, because let me tell you, if you don't have the spirit of discernment, like you said, Michelle, and you listen to her, you think, well, what's wrong with what she said? This sweet woman, she's talking about all of us coming together and, the world caring for the human. But they don't care about abortion. She's talking about all that human caring about the human. Oh my God, I care about the human. And they don't care about the babies in the womb. But you listen to her and you're thinking, wow, this lady is a sweetheart. What's wrong with this? You got to listen. You got to really pay close attention to what she's actually saying. What she's actually saying, what their vision of a unified world is China's authoritarian model. It's not peaceful cooperation. The shared future is for us to give up our national sovereignty. And this is why they want to flood all of these Western countries with illegals, with people who don't understand liberty and understand freedom, freedom is not free. They don't understand this. And they want open borders. They want it to become a global world order. New world order, what they say. This is all part of the plan. Also part of it, as we talked about in the beginning, is to dumb down Americans. They don't want us to critically think, to look at someone like her giving this speech and say, well, wait a minute. Critically pull it apart and say, well, she's from China and we see what's going on in China. And what's this mean, this global unity? I'm not for that. They don't want us to do that.
It'll eventually, you read the book of Revelation, eventually you read and you see it's going to come to that point, but it's not today. Right. It's not right now, and we still have to spread the gospel. And I love some of these comments. You guys are really getting in the scripture in the comments, but yeah, the church has a responsibility when we hear things like this to not sit back and be lukewarm, which we are. In fact, we're not just lukewarm. We're past that right now, and so we're not doing our jobs, the church as the body. But I'm really a Christ follower. So not just a Christian who goes to any denomination, because there are a lot of denominations I will never agree with. And you see them with their pride flags hanging. I will never walk in there and say what they're doing is okay. But I am a follower of Christ. And you read the word and you see where the church and the body is at. And we have to call these things out and do our part and do our job.
Right. You're right. We do have another super chatter here. Kung Fu CJ says the Antichrist message is peace.
Yes, It is. Yeah. That's what I heard. That was that discernment. I'm like, this sounds very convincing. Who should we be prepared for? And we've had those, examples in the past that were very convincing, and we get thousands, if not millions, to follow. And I don't care if she happens to be from, communist Chinese background and their father and their businesses, but apply this to any communist nation. Apply this to any place. that believes that all of us being one and sharing everything and this whole Marxist ideology is a good thing, that's when we turn and run. That's when my ears perk up and say, oh, no, this is wrong.
Right. And I always say, I've said this before, the Antichrist is coming in ease and everything you want, dressed in rhetoric like inclusivity, diversity, equity, and everything you want to hear. And many, even so-called Christians, will embrace it along with their own destruction because it sounds good. Just because it sounds good. And we're seeing that. We're seeing it. So, folks, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. So and talking about, President Trump cracked down on this Chinese stuff. He just, I think it was this week or last week, I should say, he and Marco Rubio, they stopped visas from China, I believe, students' visas, right? So they're not playing games. In a bold move to protect national security, the U.S. is now aggressively revoking visas of Chinese students with ties to the Chinese Communist Party, especially those studying in sensitive fields like science, tech, and military research. This was last week.
Yeah. They're stealing our intellectual property, and they've been doing it. Mm-hmm. And we keep thinking that they're innocent people coming over. They may be innocent, but they may be forced to do what they're doing. So I don't think most Americans, because we have freedom and our liberties, don't understand what other nations and how other nations operate when they don't. When they force you to go over here and you're going to learn this and you're going to steal this and you're going to bring this back, or else. There is an or else for many of these students. And again, we call them students. These are grown adults. These are 18 and older adults, fighting aged adults, military aged adults. I can't emphasize this enough that college students aren't kids. They're adults, young adults, yes. But when they go back home, they are forced to share all the information that they learned. They are expected to do this. And President Trump knows this. Kash Patel knows this. Kristi Noem knows this. And with respect to all of the titles they have now, they understand what has been happening and what's been allowed to happen. And it's dangerous to our national security. And it's dangerous for us as a culture and a Christian nation to open our doors and allow so many other demonic ideology, non-Christians. In fact, we have so many people here that distinctly hate Christianity, that despise the West, that we've let come over on a visa.
Right. And like you mentioned, here's just a glimpse of what's been happening under our noses. So a student was caught using some of these Chinese spies, I guess you could call them, have been doing these ones with student visas. A student was caught using a drone to spy on nuclear submarine shipyard. Another smuggling cancer research in vials stuffed into a sock at the airport. One posed as a Harvard researcher while acting as an undercover officer in China's military. Others threatened democracy activists and helped steal trade secrets from the U.S. companies. This isn't just about visas. It's about protecting America's future, as you mentioned, Michelle, from communist regime using education as espionage. This is how they're coming over. And Trump is taking action where Biden looked the other way. So speaking of that, we're moving right on to Florida. So this was out today. I mean, again, this stuff pulls at your heartstrings, but it's just like, what else are we supposed to do? So again, President Trump and the immigration ICE have been really cracking down on these illegals. And here we have, this is in South Florida, an illegal, or I'll say migrant woman screamed hysterically after her husband was deported. Take a look here. This is clip 7.
Was there as person after person left Miami's immigration court in tears Thursday. Yanet Correa could not hold back her pain.
Somebody who
injusticia! Una injusticia! Una grande injusticia!
She screams injustice after her husband was placed on an expedited deportation order after showing up to his immigration check-in in Miami. The detentions are not only creating panic and fear, but Correa's immigration attorney tells NBC6 it's also creating confusion.
Cuando la persona entra a la frontera, ellos escogen.
When a person enters the U.S. at the border, they decide what law to process you under, and now here in court, they're deciding to process you under a different law.
Immigration court attorney Antonio Ramos tells us this is now the new normal.
What I have been seeing is out of the few people, most of them, they have crimes, previous crimes, and sometimes not even have applied in front of the judge with any application, just an open case. And we have seen just a couple of cases. They have no crime, but the issue was they never filed an application before the judge.
Woo! What are your thoughts, Michelle?
I'm sorry. It's just, I mean, guys, first off, I don't have that same level of sympathy for non-citizens any more than I have for criminals in the United States who commit a crime and you see their parents crying and wailing and my baby didn't mean it and shouldn't have gone to jail. He robbed the store and shot 3 people. So he's going to jail. You entered the country illegally. And you came to the border because the last administration made it look like a free-for-all. They broke our laws. The former administration, the Biden administration, chose not to protect our sovereign borders. They made the mistake, but so many of the people crossing knew that. They thought the loophole would protect them, and it didn't. It will not. And President Trump said, you have an opportunity now to go back on your own and have another chance, assuming that you are not a criminal, to file the right paperwork and come here legally. So yes, my heartstrings are always, torn for women or men or anybody who's losing a family member. That is sad, devastating to the family. And I just want to be clear. I have this personally happen. I know people right now who've been deported in business because they thought, hey, I thought I did this right, or I thought I applied for this or did that. Yeah, I know people that have been sent and their families are still here and they're in limbo or they were sent to South America. It happens, but I just can't keep feeling sorry when we've got our own problems to deal with. Do things legally.
You're right. I mean, it's tough. I mean, but like you, I mean, the rule of law is being restored. Under President Trump, immigration laws are finally being enforced, not ignored. And you brought up a good point. This is Biden's fault. He started this. He shouldn't have let all these people in. They just opened the borders and open the floodgates. And now President Trump has to clean it up. And we talked about this last week. Romans 13 reminds us that governments have the God-given authority to uphold justice and protect national order. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. You cannot stay here right now. And I feel for you. And we've helped. We've done, and me personally, like our family, we know a lot of people that have come here first generation, or even we know people that have come here illegally and have did the right thing. They went back, got the right paperwork, did what they had to do to get their citizenship and work it out. Because I will say that is a process we need to fix. But let me just be honest, the left and the right, they'd like to put that ball back and forth. That's what needs to be cleaned up. We do need more people, not for processing, but we need more people to actually work and clean up the system for legal immigration. We want the best of the best, but they didn't let the best of the best in. They let anybody in, and it's time to clean it up. And I like a clean house. Who wants a clean house? You remember that show? I don't know if you remember that.
Look, my girl's H is going off in the chat, and I love it. She said they need to get out and go back to their country and turn it around. You're right. I cannot argue with you. I agree with all of you guys. Allie, she's on it too. She says, I don't feel sorry for them. I'm tired of people flooding into my country, and we, the citizens, pay for it with our tax dollars. Yes. We need help ourselves. We do. Come in the right way, the legal way. I agree. And you know what? Most legal immigrants agree with this too.
Yes.
Most legal immigrants agree. You know, people who have had to pay their money, who have had to wait, go about it the right way, get in here, file all the right paperwork, wait year after year after year, and finally become legal citizens. They agree. It's not fair. These people are jumping the line.
Yeah,
and it creates chaos. It creates chaos.
And it creates animosity within the immigrant community, the migrant community, the ones that are here the right way. And I had a friend, I remember watching her daughter so she could go take her citizenship test, so she could go and become a citizen. And she passed, and it was so exciting. But look, I'm looking at what she went through, and she's angry. She's like, hey, I did this, and I worked so hard, and I went through all kinds of hoops and loops and had to wait. How dare you get to the front of the line, take more money, get government assistance, get housing, and I am waiting still just to take a test to say, I love this country and I want to be an American citizen. That's not right. And we are states like ours, like Maryland, we're going bankrupt. We are in the hole. We can't even afford it. And so much of our money went to Medicaid, Medicare dollars and housing for non-citizens. Nonsense.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And it's really sad that the media will not report on these issues without the bias. They won't report on it straight and talk about how Biden let all these people in. And this is why we have now illegals screaming on the news about being detained, about being removed. This is why, but they won't even connect the dots. And so instead they come in now showing, children and women crying and trying to pull on the heartstrings of people, pushing a narrative that is not fully correct. So we got to be able to call them out and show them for what they are. And I think people are seeing it. People are getting tired of the left, always running to these other countries, running behind illegal, criminal illegals, and not taking up for everyday Americans. And here's another clip of Hakeem Jeffries getting destroyed over his poll numbers. People are tired of it. I hope people are waking up and they'll vote the correct way in for the midterms. Take a look.
Mr. Leader, you brought up polls, so let me tell you about a new one that just came out here at CNN this morning. It shows that only 19% of Americans say that your party can get things done. 36% say the same about Republicans. And just 16% say your party has strong leaders. It's pretty rough, and you are one of those leaders. How do you turn that around?
Yeah, we don't have the presidency right now, so that's always going to be challenging a few months after a presidential election. But we have to continue to make the case, one, that Democrats, of course, are the party that is determined to make life more affordable for everyday Americans, for hardworking American taxpayers, that we believe that we need to lower the high cost of living, which for decades has been going up while the size of the middle class has been going down. So understandably, there's real frustration amongst the American people. They should be frustrated.
But they're frustrated with you as well, with Democrats as well.
Of course, they're frustrated with the system.
They're frustrated with the lies.
Yeah, they're frustrated with that.
Tired of being lied to. And the truth is slowly coming out, with the COVID. Now, have you guys been watching the news? China has released a new COVID strain. It started in airports. Now they're already quarantining people in China. Folks, this is a little off topic. Take your vitamins. The only thing that is going to get us through these next couple of years is strong immune systems. That's it. Because we no telling what else they leak out. They release, I should say. We have to make our immune system strong. If you can, first, of course, pray. Take your vitamins. Try to get and walk in or some type of exercise in daily, because that helps with immunity as well. Please because they're about to start this whole thing again. They started the last time when President Trump was in office to try to kill or tank his economy, and now they're doing it again. What are your thoughts on that about Democrats with the polling, Michelle?
I think it's hilarious that that he as a Democrat is still saying that they're there for the average American hardworking person, because the reason they lost so decisively to Republicans was because they specifically worked for working class people. When the unions start voting Republican, you know you have a problem. Houston, they have a problem. Jeffries is one of them. They're aging Democrats as another problem. My gosh, I believe the Democrat Party, they lose like 6 or 7 Democrats since 2022 to death by age, because the average age of those congressmen were 75. I battled against Steny Hoyer, who's 70, turning 76. These career politicians, they've been there for 40 years. He was there for 43 years. So no, they don't have strong leadership. They have old leadership. They have left-wing leadership, and that's so polarizing. They don't know how to find themselves. They really have bamboozled voters for a very long time, especially from Black and brown communities. I mean, you've been completely bamboozled by a party that always offered great grandeur things, and it never manifested those things, never. And so I'm not surprised by the polling. I'm surprised they don't take the hint and do something about it, but I'm not mad about it as a woman running for Congress, because maybe we need to wake up. And you know what? Diversity of thought is a real issue. They want to talk about diversity. They don't want other opinions. No. It's time to have better opinions. And KJ, just to add to your health, yeah, they keep coming out with things and scares. And I just want to, from a biblical perspective, work with what God gave you. Fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. If you can grow it, if God gave it to us, sunlight, fresh water, that's what we need to use, and exercise our bodies, because otherwise these pharmaceutical companies really need you addicted to them, and we need to be addicted to what God provided. God is a provider. He gave us what we needed to stay healthy. We just have to use it and exercise it.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree. Well, folks, we are at the end of our time tonight. Again, like you mentioned, Michelle, fruits and vegetables, vitamin D3, magnesium. Somebody said, I think Allie said ivermectin. I actually haven't tried that yet. Have you tried ivermectin yet? Oh, you have, Michelle?
No, but the benefits are phenomenal. There's too many stories. We've used it for so long for our animals. Simple, basic things that are great. And
no, I got to get some of that. That was a good call, Allie. I have to get some. Yeah, folks, we got to be prepared. We got to stay vigilant for, as far as our physical, mental, we got to stay vigilant. So final thoughts for tonight, Michelle.
I love that. Stay vigilant. And we are a vessel. So I'm taking care of my vessel. I'm doing better this year and staying focused. And also, again, discernment. This video, today's chat, today's clips, discernment. That's what we need. We've got to protect ourselves. Watch out for what the enemy has. Watch out for our children, because they're coming after them, and everybody is not right. So when you meet somebody and you see something's not right, say that prayer. Say, God, is something off? What am I saying? What is wrong? And operate in that. Really, that's strengthening your connection with the Holy Spirit and with God. We're going to need that in these end times. We need that.
Yes, we do. I want to thank our moderators again tonight. You guys are phenomenal. We have Kung Fu CJ, Coaster, Allie, all of you guys. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Also, all of the super chats, Wendy, Jeff. Yes, thank you all so much. Yes, thank you. We really appreciate every last one, the chat is always great. This is my favorite chat. Even I think I like this chat more than Poppin' Politics too. So you guys are wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll be back for Poppin' Politics tomorrow night at 9 p.m. on Poppin' Politics channel. So please check us out there. And just before you go, I just want to remind everybody, no matter how dark the world may seem, God is still on the throne.
Yes.
We don't walk in fear. As you mentioned, Michelle, pretty much, we walk in faith. And the Bible says in Psalms 91, he will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. So tonight we pray for truth to rise, for deception to fall, and for protection over every believer, every one of you guys in the chat, your family, your loved ones. We pray for you. Everyone who dares to speak boldly, may God guard your heart, guide your steps, and give you peace that passes all understanding. We will see you next time on Thursday. We'll be here Thursday night at 9 p.m. Until then, praying for you, wishing you warm days and starry nights. Good night.